Have you ever felt a sense of comfort while playing Dying Light? Has the vibe of the game ever fascinated you? I, for one, have always felt like playing the game made me feel emotions far more intriguing than any other game, though I never exactly understood what made me feel those emotions. Emotions of calmness, comfort, and contemplation. I've always thought, though, that it is the vibe of the game that does it. Hence, today we'll be taking a dive into the vibe of Dying Light and maybe figure out what makes this game's vibe so special. The music of Dying Light is a feeling. It's the feeling of the last ray of hope, the feeling of terror felt while playing, the feeling of a peculiar familiarity, a feeling of nostalgia. The tracks that play spontaneously during the traversal of Harran in daytime depict the last ray of hope. The music feels like dying light. Dying, mind you, not quite dead. These tracks portray an optimism for a better future of this world, and not sadness or bleakness as if there is no way for this world to stand back up from its dying state. There's hope in this music. Perhaps the last ray of it, and that's what makes it so charming. You feel alone, yet warm and fuzzy somehow, as in combination with the ambience and familiar sound effects of this world, the music feels like and I've got no better words to explain this, eargasm of sorts, if you will. I swear it hits on the most lackluster of moments sometimes. Maybe when we're doing something mundane like climbing a tower or just scavenging for supplies in random houses, and it makes that lackluster or simple moment feel enjoyable. The music in these moments makes you contemplate the game world, the dire situation at hand, and almost makes you feel like an actual citizen of this fictional city of Harran.
Świat jest martwy i tak naprawdę, jeżeli spojrzymy na to, czy widzimy przed sobą kogoś żywego, to tak właściwie to są żywe trupy. Więc w tym momencie ten świat możemy sobie spostrzec jako pewną pustkę, jako pewną równinę. I to starałem się poszukać jak gdyby pomysłu muzycznego na to, w sensie długich, ciągłych dźwięków. Ale ponieważ jest to coś zniszczonego, coś martwego, coś opustoszałego, to również szukałem pewnej takiej pustki, pewnej takiej chrapliwości, pewnego takiego zmęczenia, pewnego takiego, tak jak mówię, opustoszenia, czegoś takiego.
In contrast, though, to these mundane moments are the game's intense moments, when Rice's flunkies and volatiles of this world are on your rear end. The music is adaptive for these scenarios and perfectly suits them to make your heart feel the situation just as well as your brain does. An excellent and super memorable example of such beautifully intense music that it creates a vibe is the sequence near the end where we are running away from what feels like dozens upon dozens of volatiles in a closed cave. Man, that thing was intense, and the music makes you feel intense in your heart and soul with each and every iteration of the loop. Sound design as a whole in this scenario, I mean the horrifying roars and screeches of these said volatiles and Kyle's labored breathing sound effects make this section so knockingly terrifying. This section is a testament to the excellence of the game's ability in making an outstanding vibe for the player with the help of its sound design.
During the day, Dying Light's soundtrack plays softly in the background, hoping to reinforce the feeling of despair. During the night, an eerie, softer music track plays, really reinforcing how alone you are. You can hear the volatiles wandering around, hunting for their prey, and when a chase does happen, the music changes to a fast-paced beat that matches the panic in the player.
There seems to be this familiar Indianness to some tracks of the game. Being an Indian, that gives me a homey vibe while exploring this world. A home away from home. A fictional one, sure, yet familiar and cozy in some subtle but powerful ways. There are two types of tracks in the game that give out Indian music vibes. First are the ones that feature the alap or akar like Harran, Passage and Praise the Sun tracks from the OST. If you don't know what an alap or akar is, I didn't either. Here is the alap. Now listen to a similar thing from Dying Light. I don't think though that you have to be an Indian to appreciate the intriguing vibes emitted by the tracks I mentioned. The second type of tracks that emit an Indian vibe are the tracks that feature tunes somewhat similar to what we hear in many older Indian songs. Give this a listen. Now listen to this.
Attention shoppers, right now Saif being on boneless chicken wings.
There are a lot of old Hindi music lovers in India, including my mother, which means not only can I be walking down the street and hear similar music to what some parts of Dying Light feature, I could be sitting at my home doing nothing related to Dying Light, yet similar music could remind me of the amazing world of Dying Light. It is kind of a magical connection almost, and I love it. The music of Dying Light features nostalgia in some tracks for me, especially early ones, because the early game is what I got to play the most with my beast of a GT 610 graphics card. The music is reminiscent of a more ambitious yet simpler time, when I was a 15-year-old kid, that is. The vibe of the music and the game is a trip down the memory lane. I'm sure it's not only me who has some piece of their past attached to the game or its music. Well, in addition to my first graphics card and me playing the game and adoring it at the buttery smooth 10 FPS, sometimes falling below the slideshow equivalent 5 FPS mark, memories of YouTubers I watched back in the day almost 10 years ago come rushing back into my mind, reminding me of the awesome past. Awesome past where all I asked for is all I have. Yet, now I want more.
Hello dosto, this is Heyman T and you're watching a brand new series. This is Dying Light, pura 1 month late on the PlayStation 4. Indian release हर समय late होते हैं.
The two YouTubers I remember watching relating to Dying Light all those years ago, both of them have stopped posting. One apparently has died. This guy was the motivation behind me starting my first YouTube channel. He lives though in a small part of my heart, and I'm reminded of him whenever I play a game like Dying Light, a game that reminds me of his videos. The vibe we feel while playing Dying Light isn't just linked with the music though. The gameplay that takes place alongside the music does its fair share in building the game's vibe.
One day I'm gonna do this and end up landing on a bag of rusty knives, I just know it.
The gameplay features quirky mechanics and intense gameplay moments in addition to its beefed of a beautifully crafted parkour system to create the inexplicable vibe of Dying Light. The gameplay features silly charm that makes it fun and quirky, like 100 fun ways of killing a zombie. Electrocution, head kicks, buggy, you name it, they have it. The same silliness continues in how jumping on these bags of invincibility doesn't kill you. Never mind, like how jumping on cars from like a multi-story building height doesn't kill you. Though, on the contrary, moments like the viral or volatile chases feel intense, visceral, and unpredictable from a gameplay perspective. Virals are the beings that help the game not become too easy or boring from the gameplay perspective. For all the fun ways we have to kill enemies, that is, volatiles do this too, but they are time bound. Virals are everywhere and available to meet you every time and are not easy to kill with melee weapons, in early or mid stages especially. With guns, you'll attract even more of them, and for using throwables like molotovs etc., you don't always have the crafting mats. Even if you do, you don't always want to waste those on enemies that could be avoided by staying silent. From the unsettling noises they make to the way they act, that is, their agile and unpredictable movement, combined with human-like dodging skills, make them a tough menace to deal with. Virals add a constant sense of tension when they're not there and visceralness when they are there to the gameplay. The volatiles do too, but they are like mini volatiles with smaller health but ever present nature instead of the night only special appearance of the volatiles. Its world is a vibe to traverse and parkour through. Even if you aren't doing anything in particular, just parkouring through the city while listening to the game's music and ambience provides a relaxing feeling somehow. It is because the parkour and movement are so flawless, animation wise and feel wise, that we actually feel like we're in the shoes of Kyle Crane himself, the person doing the parkour. Each grab, pull, jump, and grapple has a sense of weight to it, planting us into the world of Dying Light. The developers have gone through an extreme amount of work and trial and errors to end up where they got in the end. From the small things that we don't even notice in the final game to the fundamental implementations of grabbing ledges, falling, and how to make players actively work on traversing through the environment instead of Assassin's Creed style auto free running gameplay, it took a lot of dedication to get right, and hence when it works in the end, for us, the players, it feels fun, intuitive, and a vibe to play. From the exhilaration felt while jumping from a superhuman height onto the bags of invincibility to the unpredictable and heart-racing encounters with a group of virals. From satisfyingly kicking mindless zombies into spikes to running from volatiles for dear life. The contrast and balance in the gameplay, along with the tough as nails core of the gameplay, that is, an outstanding parkour system, gives the inexplicable vibe to Dying Light. Just like the music though, the gameplay doesn't work in isolation or with music alone to make the game's vibe. The gameplay takes place in...
This is Jade speaking. You know the drill. Get to the nearest safe house and wait until dawn. Good night, and good luck.
The environment or game world of Dying Light showcases the city of Harran exceptionally well in each time of the day and gives us a glimpse at the world before the apocalypse. Each time of the day is so beautifully and passionately crafted that it gives out a sense of deep immersion to the player, where the dusk feels like it's time to get to a safe zone or be equipped with proper gear to survive the intense night ahead. And the dawns feel like a fresh start to rise up and get to work, for there are NPCs in the world waiting for you to be their hero. The time in-game invokes real feelings in you, the real player, of urgency or excitement, and it's no small feat. Various areas of the game point towards the world before the apocalypse. Not explicitly always, but we do feel that people lived in or occupied these places before things went south. The school is a prime example of this. Drawings drawn by students are pinned on a board representing the school used to be a lively place once, yet now it is abandoned. Seeing commonly populated areas vacant is a vibe, perhaps a dreadful one, but that's what makes us feel emotionally attached to this game. Another heart-shattering example of the game world depicting the world before the apocalypse can be found in a quest where we are tasked with finding a dose of insulin for a little girl named Alia. We start by going to the pharmacy. Unable to find any insulin, we check for the last person who bought it. Turns out it was Akram, this little girl Alia's father. We get the address from the computer receipt and arrive at his home. In this home, Alia's home, we find a note and a drawing. The note stating, "Harika, I'm driving to the pharmacy to get Alia's medication, then to Farhat Pizzeria, and then I'll pick up Alia from daycare. We should be home with dinner by 6. We love you, my darling, Akram." "I'll pick up Alia from daycare," he wrote. And yet, no matter how many days have passed since, Alia is still in her daycare. "We should be home with dinner by 6, he added. Yet Kyle finds Akram's body in the aforementioned pizzeria. While trying to secure a nearby safe house during this quest, I found this. Perhaps Alia's mother?
The remnants of people trying to flee via bus stations and bridges can be seen. The streets are littered with the undead. Abandoned homes, burning cars, and haunting reminders of what the world used to be like are scattered all around this world.
The game world that depicts each time of the day so vividly that it evokes emotions and elegantly portrays the world before the apocalypse to make the world feel real is inhabited by simple yet effective.
Ozzy, me too. We have the same name.
The stories and characters featured in the side quests and notes of the game bring about a wacky charm of the game, whereas the main story and characters direct the vibe of the game from a fundamental perspective and make it sadder and darker as the story progresses. The stories of this world, told through the side quests of the game and the notes, are dripping with wacky charm which makes them memorable. Ghazi, a mentally unwell resident of the city of Harran, has stockpiled anti-seizure medicine which his mother used to take before she passed away. Due to his mental instability and persistent nature, pharmacy people complied. We are tasked with getting the meds from him. Though Ghazi isn't going to let us have a way that easy and demands to do some favors for him, after which he says F you to us to our face and slams the door shut on us. Of course, we are Kyle freaking Crane, so we find a way into his house through the top, and what we witness is astonishing. A mother made out of pillows and a bucket. In addition to that, we also find a note written by Ghazi, which is an absolutely adorable masterpiece to read. My Journal by Ghazi. Entry 1. I'm keeping a journal because the main man in the movie about the smart mouse had to keep a journal. His name is Elarginon. And the longer you keep the journal, the smarter you get. Right now, my smart level is 8, so I'm smarter than just about most people. But this journal will make me even more smart. Guess it could be good to be even smarter. Entry 2. Today, my new smart level is 9. So I'm really much smarter than just about everybody who ever lived. When I went to the pharmacy to get my mom's drugs, the drug man said I could not have any more because my mom is a pumpkin head now. So I started yell singing in my super voice. Then he said, okay, okay, and gave me the drugs. He was not nearly smart enough to go against Ghazi. Entry 3. Today, bro, kill me. Today, my new smart level is 10, so I probably can't be much higher. I am so smart now, I can barely talk to people because they are so dumb. Maybe becoming super smart was a mistake. A lot of people I see on the street are so much dumber than me that they seem to not be saying words at all, just noises. If they don't see me, they just stand around doing nothing. When they do see me, they act stupid and get mad at me for being so much smarter than them, bro. Man, I love this note. I used to think people were busy and really smart. Becoming 10 levels smart has opened my eyes about people and how dumb and lazy they really are. From now on, I'm going to keep away from them. I just make people angry with my super smart mind. They wish they were Ghazi, but they can't be Ghazi, just me. Oh man. From stockpiling medicine to making his mother out of pillows, Ghazi has gone some lengths to keep his mother alive. The note, so lovingly crafted by the devs to give us a glimpse of a mentally unwell person's mind in such a situation, is just perfection. Another example of Dying Light's wacky story and character charm is from a random note we find when we enter the school building. This is my old school. I can't believe it. We arrived this morning and the lieutenant said, secure those buildings and set up a perimeter. And here we are. Gosh, that's funny. Never thought I'd set foot in this place again. There were lots of TV cameras on us when we were entering the quarantine. Felt like a movie star or something. The last time I was in this school, they said I was too lazy to accomplish anything. Now I'm in my fatigues with an AK-47 and some hand grenades, and they think I'm a hero. I guess that's mostly because of what the colonel said. When the news cameras were watching, the colonel announced that our orders were to assist the infected and evac them to special medical facilities where they can be treated. He said that doctors were anticipating a full recovery for most of them. People were cheering and clapping about that. But as soon as the cameras were gone, we entered the quarantine and he gave us the real orders. Shoot any infected on sight. That was a big relief. I don't really want to touch them. Shooting them is much easier. It sure is funny being back at my old school shooting all these people that I used to know. Like everything is so sincere and so believable and straightforward up and until the last line. Why would a sane person say it is funny being back at their school and shooting all these people they used to know? Funny? Funny out of all the words. This is the type of weirdness that not only brings about a unique to the game wackiness, but also shows how the game doesn't take itself too seriously and leans into its quirky aspects as we talked about in the gameplay section. And that works in its favor, surprisingly. and works wonders for its vibe. If the game was to abandon its wacky sense of humor, the vibe of the game would be a lot darker and a lot less fun in my opinion. The silliness gives the stories and characters of Harran a unique vibe. In addition to these charming yet silly side stories, characters and notes, the main story and characters play a crucial role in directing the vibe of the game from a fundamental point of view and make it sadder and darker as the story progresses. In the main story of the game, the friends we make are just gone by roughly the halfway point of the game. It makes the game's vibe a lot darker and makes us feel more hopeless, desolated, and fatigued. It gives us a sense of dying light, if you will. Jade is the one that saved us upon landing in Harran. Rahim is the one that introduced us to the game's mechanics. These were the people that communicated with us on the radio. They were the ones that provided us with a sense of belonging to the tower, this community. They were the ones that wanted to make an effort to fight back with this situation. They were the ones that opened up to us about their plans. They were the ones that went on missions with us. They were the ones who trusted us.
Promise me you won't let Rahim near that high.
What? Yeah, of course, I promise. Just go.
For all intents and purposes, Rahim and Jade are the only characters in the game that feel like friends to us. And after Rahim's death, Jade also disappears for almost the whole game except coming back for her own ending scene. The game's vibe does not feel the same after having them removed from the scene. Brecken and Spike never feel like friends to us.
Just what I need. More unskilled labor.
No offense, friend, but you're as green as grass.
The later characters, Troy and Savvy, don't feel like friends either, or humans even. This is because even if the game's story gets critiqued for being cliché or bad sometimes, the initial characters, Rahim, Jade and Brecken, have some purpose or some reason behind them that makes them human and believable. Rahim, for instance, wants to not be considered as a kid and wants to do something about this situation by planning the explosives thing in the volatile nest. Jade, a professional kickboxer, wants to be the big sister and parent almost to her little brother after losing their real parents and wants to protect him at all costs. Brecken, an everyday man turned into a leader due to the circumstances. Yes, he was a parkour instructor, but he was just that. Leadership and handling the loss of life and such extreme circumstances weren't part of his training or aren't his strong suits. Yes, basic stuff indeed for each character. Yes, the story can't hold a candle to the Game of Thrones plot, but it isn't supposed to. And the point still stands that the later characters completely lack this vision or purpose for existing in this world, which makes us miss the former ones and feel the void they left even more intensely. Like what? All we know about Troy is that she is the leader of the Ambers and resides within the Ambers Tower, and that too I am reading from Dying Light fandom. I mean, I know that much too. And Savvy, he's a tech geek, lol, nothing more. The complete lack of character in most characters besides Jade and Rahim, which were not developed like that much to start with, makes the vibe of the game darker at the midpoint where they leave, which I would like to clear out is not a bad thing for me. It is what it is, and the darker, sadder vibe after their departure is a key part in what makes Dying Light's vibe so special for me. Perhaps a lot of you guys too. Maybe not deep, but the characters the main story introduces are the only friends we have in this world, and these friends turn.
That's a fucking bite wound. You goddamn stupid fucking kid!
Loved ones turning into zombies. showcased at various points in the game, gives us a peek at the "they were human once" aspect and adds contemplation-worthy dilemma to this otherwise fun game. We see quite a few examples of loved ones turning into zombies in the game. From the very beginning, when we try to save this guy, he states,
That was my brother.
To the side quest after story completion,
I would let her kill me before I would lift a finger to harm her.
In a zombie apocalypse, we have to kill our or others' loved ones. The dilemma, yet objectiveness, at the core of this decision is heartbreaking. We feel it firsthand through Kyle Crane's perspective while pulling the plug on Rahim and Jade. Rahim sacrificed his life for the greater good. What he planned worked, at the cost of his life. The music, Crane's reaction, it's one hell of a hard-hitting scene. Heartbreaking. Yet, the point stands, the objectiveness of having to kill a loved one once they've turned is mind-bending. With Jade too, I think Jade out of all the characters meant the most to Crane. The way he describes her while trying to find her, cute, tough as nails, petite, dark-haired, doesn't take shit from anyone, uncute, kind of feels like he had a crush on her, which probably made the decision of killing her after she turns all the more challenging for Crane. Again, challenging, yet that is objectively the only right thing to do. We see zombie games and zombie media in general and feel like head smashing some dumb, slow-moving, brain-eating undead. But rarely do we realize behind these fun-to-kill zombies must be real people at some point. They were loved, cared for, and irreplaceable ones, for their loved ones at least. We don't ever want to lose a limb, let's say a leg, though when stuck with the decision to choose between a leg spreading cancer, disease, or infection throughout our body or to amputate it to save a life, we make the sacrifice of the said limb. Similarly, when the options are to kill a loved one who is no longer in human form and wants to kill you, or not even that, and say you can just let them live to decay or quote-unquote live in this form, the decision, however much painful or hard to make it might be, much like a limb amputation, objectively is to kill the loved one and put them out of their misery. It is not the slightest bit about not loving them. It's about putting them at peace, to end their suffering by not letting them live in that state of being a zombie. Leaving them like that, in fact, is kind of a punishment. Of course, zombies don't exist in real life, but outbreaks do. Hence, the loved ones turning into zombies aspect of the game makes us contemplate. In cohesion with the world before the apocalypse, the game executes this bleaker and more sincere vibe so seamlessly and outstandingly.
Fundamentally, that's why zombies are frightening. Not because they eat flesh, not because they're rotting, but because each and every one of them used to be somebody, and that person just disappears, replaced by raw hunger and predatory aimlessness.
In Harran, there are countless loved ones who have turned, and many have died. But what isn't dead? The game does justice to its title in more than one way, referring not only to the horrifying and unique night experience of the game, but also by depicting the dying light in human beings and the dying sense of hope along with it. Yet, the word dying holds more than what meets the eye at first. The game makes us feel this dying light with the help of its plot and characters, making us contemplate the world and its characters at times. Because these might just be mere characters and fictional in nature, but real evil people and organizations exist in a real world, no less, that make us resonate with the game's depiction of dying light. Rise, the GRE, and the Ministry all represent the dying light in humanity. Power, money, and being politically correct are the only things that matter to these entities. Compassion and a sense of humanity are nowhere to be found amongst them.
Why do you even give a fuck what happens to these people? You don't belong here. This is just a job for you.
The fact that large organizations and ill-minded people see you as numbers, profit, or a resource to use is represented quite well through the game's villains. The light is dying. The same can be felt in the narrative of the game after Rahim's death. As mentioned before, the vibe of the game shifts with the story's progression. The homie vibe is almost killed. Emptiness and hopelessness are at their peak. We're in a zombie apocalypse with no clear solution at hand. No friends. Sorry if I broke the fourth wall there. All the fun we can still have in the game through parkour, smashing zombies, or doing quirky quests feels much less exciting now. The light is dying. Dying, yet not dead. Amongst the GRE, Rice, and the Ministry, people like Crane, Jade, Zere, Rahim, and Amir exist to save this said light from dying. The game also depicts this subtly and cleverly when night turns into day, when we make the planes retract by announcing the world that there are still people in the city, preventing the city from being bombed. The night turning into day is kind of a representation that the light still isn't dead. Yet another excellent but almost over the top example of dying light but not quite dead yet is the mother.
In the light, in the sun, my mind is my own. I'm filled with love, possibly imagine. But in the dark, my new nature dominates. Mindless, lethal. In the dark, with cruel passion, I ripped my own children to pieces. But I swore to myself that I would become the mother they really deserve.
The mother depicts the dying light as a vessel almost, the two personalities of her acting out at contrasting times, yet the light is not quite dead still, as he wants to put an end to this madness in what I consider to be the good ending of the game by nuking the city. Now, a lesson I would like to take from this game is that there are times when we are like the mother, we fight with our own inner demons in our heads, the nights of our life, so to speak. What we must do in those situations, just like the mother does, is keep the light from dying. After all, it's dying light, not dead, unless you lose to your inner demons, which we shouldn't, because we shall try our hardest to not be like Rice, the Ministry of Defense, or the GRE, and rather strive to be like Kyle, Jade, Amir, Rahim, Brecken, and Zere.
This is Ayo speaking. Get to the nearest safe house and wait until dawn. Good night, and good luck.
Aspiring game developers should check out the full video in the description where Bartosz Kulon, game designer and lead programmer at Techland, explains how various player mechanics of Dying Light came together, problems they faced and how they resolved them, etc. It's from the channel GDC 2025. I will place the link in the description along with all the other references. Another shout out to GhostlyNest, who has done an excellent video on Dying Light's Harran. I strongly suggest you watch that if you love Dying Light and the city of Harran. Last but not the least, I'd like to wholeheartedly thank the creators of each reference, visual and music used in this video. The video couldn't have been made without you guys. Everything I've used is referenced in the description of this video.